The internet is on fire right now, and if you thought the drama in Atlanta had peaked, think again. A leaked phone call has surfaced, and it's sending shockwaves through the worlds of hip-hop, reality TV, and politics. On one side, Erica, furious and fearless. On the other, Kirk, desperate to keep decades of secrets buried. And just when things couldn't get messier, Candace Owens steps in, dropping what she calls the final receipts evidence so explosive. It could destroy reputations and relationships, and rewrite everything fans thought they knew. What was said in that call? Why is everyone suddenly pointing fingers? And how deep does this rabbit hole go? Buckle up, because what you're about to hear isn't just scandal. It's betrayal, revenge, and the ultimate showdown playing out in real time. And trust me, this is only the beginning. The call wasn't supposed to happen. Not like this, not with so much at stake. It was late, way past midnight, and the city of Atlanta was silent except for the faint buzzing of Erica's phone. The name flashing on the screen made her stomach drop. Kirk. She hesitated for a second, finger hovering over the decline button. But curiosity and maybe a hint of anger made her swipe to accept. Erica. Kirk's voice crackled through the speaker, low and heavy. "We need to talk." It was the voice of a man who'd run out of options, and Erica knew it. For weeks, rumors had been swirling, whispers of betrayal, of a story too scandalous for even the wildest reality TV plotline. But this was no scripted drama. This was real, and the truth was about to spill. "What could you possibly have to say to me now?" Erica's tone was icy. She'd built walls after everything that had happened. Kirk's betrayals weren't news. They were practically a timeline at this point. But this time, something felt different. "You don't understand," Kirk said, his voice trembling just slightly. "They're going to ruin me. They're going to ruin us. Us." She snapped back. "There hasn't been an us in years. Not since you chose lies over loyalty." There was a pause, the kind of silence that carries weight. And then, the sound that would change everything. The faint click of a third line joining the call. Erica's heart skipped a beat. "Who else is on this line?" she demanded. "Calm down," Kirk said quickly. It's Candace. Candace Owens. Of course." The name alone was enough to make Erica's blood boil. Candace had been lurking in the background for months, posting cryptic tweets, hinting at receipts, and making it very clear that she knew more than she was letting on. But why was she here now? And why did Kirk sound like a man on the edge? Candace's voice was smooth, calculated, like someone who'd already planned their next 10 moves. "I'm only here because I think it's time you knew the truth." Erica laughed bitterly. "You mean the same truth you've been teasing for weeks just to build your following? You're not a journalist, Candace. You're a glorified gossip with a platform." "Maybe," Candace said calmly. "But maybe I'm also the only one who can prove what Kirk's been hiding. And trust me, it's worse than you think." The air was electric now. Erica could feel her heart pounding in her chest. She had spent years untangling herself from Kirk's mess. The lies, the betrayals, the double life he'd so carefully constructed. And yet, here she was again, dragged back into the chaos she swore she'd never revisit. "Kirk," she said slowly, choosing her words like knives. "You better start talking now." There was another pause, longer this time. And then, with a deep breath, Kirk spoke. "It wasn't just about you and me. It was never just us. There are other people involved. Powerful people. And if this comes out, it's not just my name on the line, it's everyone's." "What are you talking about?" Erica pressed. "Those meetings," Kirk continued, his voice barely above a whisper. "The ones you thought were about business. They weren't. They were about silencing stories. Stories that, if leaked, could destroy careers, including yours." Casa's mind raced. What stories? What secrets had she unknowingly become part of? And why was Candace, of all people, now positioning herself as some kind of whistleblower? "I have the recordings," Candace cut in. "Every conversation, every plan, every lie, and I'm prepared to release them." Erica felt her stomach twist. "Why now? Why are you doing this?" "Because," Candace said, her voice sharpening, The public deserves to know who they're dealing with. The masks you all wear, the perfect couple, the loyal friends, the power players, they're lies. And I'm done letting you hide behind them." The line went quiet again. Erica felt like the ground beneath her was crumbling. She had spent so long crafting an image, strong, resilient, untouchable. And now, with one leaked call, everything threatened to collapse. "You're bluffing," she said finally, though even she didn't believe it. "Am I?" Candace replied coolly. "Then explain this." A new sound played through the speaker, a recording. Erica's voice, from a conversation she didn't even remember having. It was her talking about a deal, one that would keep certain damaging stories buried in exchange for silence. It was damning. It was real. And it was out of context. But it didn't matter. "This is just the beginning," Candace said. "There's more. A lot more. And when it's all out, the world will know exactly who Erica is. And who Kirk has always been." Erica's hands were shaking now. She wanted to scream, to deny, to lash out, but she couldn't. Because somewhere deep down, she knew this wasn't just a petty feud. This was war. And Candace Owens had just fired the first shot. The call ended abruptly, but the silence that followed was deafening. Erica sat there, staring at the screen, the weight of what had just happened pressing down on her like a storm cloud. She knew this was only the beginning. Candace had the receipts, and if she was willing to use them, the fallout would be catastrophic. Somewhere across town, Kirk stared at his phone too. His career, his relationships, his carefully constructed life, all of it hung by a thread. And that thread was now in Candace's hands. The leaked call had done more than reveal secrets. It had shattered illusions. And in the days to come, the truth would no longer be optional. It would be unavoidable. And for Erica, Kirk, and everyone caught in the crossfire, survival would mean more than just damage control. It would mean war. The fallout from the leaked call began almost instantly. Within hours, screenshots of transcribed audio snippets were circulating online. Hashtags exploded across social media. Hashtag Erica exposed, hashtag Kirk lies, hashtag Candace receipts. What had started as a late-night phone conversation was now a full-blown scandal. And the world was watching. Erica hadn't slept. She'd been pacing her penthouse floor for hours, phone buzzing nonstop with calls from friends, family, and publicists. Every message had the same tone: disbelief, disappointment, panic. People she trusted were suddenly distant. Brand deals she'd been finalizing for months were now on pause. And the media? They were circling like vultures. "This is getting out of control," she muttered to herself, throwing her phone onto the couch. "It was always out of control," came a voice from the doorway. It was Kendra, one of Erica's oldest friends, and one of the few who dared to tell her the truth. "You knew this was going to blow up one day. You just didn't think it would happen like this." Erica slumped into a chair, running a hand through her hair. "I never thought she'd actually have recordings. I thought it was just talk." "Candace doesn't bluff," Kendra said. "She plays chess, not checkers. And right now, she's 5 moves ahead." The truth stung. Erica had built her brand on strength and resilience. But beneath this surface was a history of deals, compromises, and choices she'd rather forget. Choices that, if back at Erica's penthouse, the mood had shifted from panic to strategy. A crisis team had been assembled. PR experts, legal advisors, even a private investigator. They sat around a polished glass table, laptops open, voices low but urgent. "Step 1, said Tiana, Erica's publicist, is to humanize you. We need a sit-down interview, someone sympathetic, like Tamron or Gail. You cry, you admit mistakes. You own your narrative before Candace owns it for you." "I'm not crying on TV," Erica snapped. "Then you're finished," Tiana shot back. "This isn't about pride. This is about survival." Erica hated the idea of vulnerability. Her entire public image had been built on strength. But deep down, she knew Tiana was right. Candace was painting her as a villain, a manipulator, a liar, a schemer. If she didn't counter that image fast, it would become her reality. Meanwhile, Kirk was planning a very different strategy. He had reached out to an old contact, a man who specialized in information, particularly the kind that could make problems disappear. "What do you need?" the man asked. "Leverage," Kirk replied. "Anything you can find on Candace. Something that makes her think twice before releasing anything else." It was a dangerous move, and Kirk knew it. But he was desperate. Candace had turned their secrets into weapons, and he needed ammunition of his own. As the days passed, the tension only grew. More leaks appeared online, snippets of emails, text messages, even photos that hinted at deeper scandals yet to be revealed. Social media analysts called it a slow burn expose. Candace was drip-feeding the truth, building suspense, keeping the public's attention locked, and it was working. Erica's fan base was divided. Some defended her fiercely, insisting the recordings were taken out of context. Others abandoned her completely, accusing her of manipulation and deceit. Brands began quietly severing ties. Talk shows debated whether her career was over, but Erica wasn't ready to surrender. Late one night, staring out over the Atlanta skyline, she made a decision. "If Candace wants a war," she whispered to herself, "I'll give her one." She picked up her phone and dialed a number she hadn't called in years. On the other end, a voice answered, cold, powerful, dangerous. "It's time," Erica said simply. The next morning, a bombshell article appeared online. It wasn't about Erica or Kirk. It was about Candace. Allegations from former collaborators. Questions about her credibility. Claims that she had doctored evidence before. Whether true or not, it was enough to shift the narrative, to plant seeds of doubt. Candace fired back within hours, calling it a smear campaign. But for the first time, the public wasn't sure who to believe. The battle lines were blurring, and the story was no longer black and white, and somewhere in the chaos, a new question emerged. If this was only the beginning, what other secrets were waiting to surface? Because one thing was certain, the leaked call wasn't the end of the story. It was just the opening shot in a war that was about to consume them all. By the time the third week hit, the scandal had evolved from a viral story into a cultural phenomenon. Podcasts dissected every word of the leaked call. News anchors debated motives and consequences. Even mainstream talk shows were booking experts to analyze the psychology behind Erica's decisions and Kirk's behavior. It wasn't just gossip anymore, it was a full-blown case study in betrayal, manipulation, and power. And at the center of it all, the three names on everyone's lips were Erica, Kirk, and Candace. But beneath the noise, deeper moves were being made. Erica had spent the last 72 hours off-grid, meeting with crisis strategists who specialized in reputation resurrection. They called themselves fixers, people who had quietly saved the careers of celebrities far more scandalous than her. They had one mission: shift the narrative before the next bombshell dropped. "We need a diversion," said one of the lead strategists during a late-night meeting. "Something big enough to make the public look away from the receipts. A scandal of our own making, but one that we can control." Erica frowned. "You're talking about planting a story." "Not a story," the strategist corrected. "A spectacle." The plan was bold, reckless, even, but Erica was desperate. They would leak a story about a new project, a major philanthropic initiative tied to women's empowerment and community rebuilding. It would be grand, public, and deeply emotional. The idea was to paint Erica as a flawed but evolving figure, someone who had made mistakes but was using her influence for good. It was risky. But within days, the campaign was in motion. Erica appeared at a press conference, tearfully announcing the launch of the Phoenix Project, a multi-million-dollar foundation aimed at supporting women who had been silenced by powerful men. The symbolism wasn't subtle. Sometimes, she told the camera's voice trembling, "We fall. But falling doesn't define us. Rising does." The media lapped it up. Overnight, headlines shifted from "Erica exposed" to "Erica redeems herself." Social media users debated whether her motives were genuine or calculated. But for the first time since the leak, the tide of public opinion seemed to be turning just slightly in her favor. But while Erica tried to control the damage, Candace wasn't slowing down. In fact, she was preparing her most explosive release yet, a second recording far more damaging than the first. This one didn't just implicate Erica and Kirk. It suggested a broader conspiracy involving other, influential figures, names that hadn't yet been dragged into the mess. Candace's team debated whether releasing it was too risky. "If we go public with this, it stops being celebrity drama," her producer warned. "It becomes a legal nightmare." "It's exactly why we're doing it," Candace replied coldly. "This isn't just about entertainment. It's about accountability." The second tape dropped on a Wednesday morning without warning, and it was nuclear. In it, Kirk was heard discussing payments, large, undisclosed sums of money, to silence individuals connected to past incidents. Erica's voice appeared again, too, referencing cleaning things up before the media could find out. The implications were staggering. The internet exploded. News outlets halted regular programming to cover the revelations. Federal agencies reportedly began reviewing the leaked material. Sponsors that had only recently begun tiptoeing back toward Erica vanished again overnight. It was chaos, and this time no press conference could stop it. Kirk, for his part, was spiraling. The new leaks implicated him in potential criminal activity, and his lawyers were scrambling to contain the damage. "We're not talking about bad press anymore," one of them warned during a tense meeting. "We're talking about investigations, subpoenas. You could go to prison." He slammed his fist against the table. "I'm not going down alone," he growled. Across the city, Candace's phone rang. The caller ID made her hesitate. Unknown. Against her better judgment, she answered. "You think you're safe," Kirk's voice hissed through the line. "But you're not. You have no idea what you've started. Are you threatening me?" Candace replied calmly. "No," Kirk said, voice low and venomous. "I'm promising you." It wasn't an idle threat. Within days, a trove of old social media posts, private messages, and questionable business dealings linked to Candace began surfacing online. Anonymous accounts accused her of fabricating evidence in past investigations. Others claimed she had accepted money to suppress stories, the very thing she was accusing Erica and Kirk of doing. The smear campaign worked. For the first time since the scandal began, cracks appeared in Candace's public image. News anchors questioned her credibility. Podcasts debated whether she had a personal vendetta. Even some of her most loyal followers began to waver. And in that moment of weakness, Erica struck again. In a bombshell interview with a major network, she painted herself as a victim, manipulated by powerful men, betrayed by those she trusted, and targeted by someone with an agenda. She admitted to mistakes, apologized to those hurt by her actions, and vowed to cooperate fully with any investigations. The interview was a masterclass in damage control. Clips of her emotional confession went viral. Hashtags like #WeStandWithErica began trending. And while not everyone was convinced, the tide of public opinion once again began to shift. But beneath the surface, the real war was just beginning. Candace wasn't backing down. Kirk wasn't finished fighting. And Erica, for all her tears and apologies, was already plotting her next move. Late one night, as rain poured over the city, Erica sat by her window, staring into the darkness. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "You think this is over? It's not." The third recording dropped soon. Her hands trembled as she read it. If the second leak had been nuclear, a third could be apocalyptic. What else could possibly be out there? What more could they have said or done that hadn't already been exposed? The truth was, Erica wasn't sure, and that terrified her. Because in a war built on secrets, the most dangerous weapon was the one still waiting to be revealed. Somewhere out there, another shoe was about to drop. Erica barely left her home. The press had camped outside her building, cameras flashing every time she stepped near a window. Paparazzi drones hovered above her rooftop terrace. Even inside, she felt watched, not by the media, but by the ghosts of her decisions. Her team urged her to focus. "We can't control what they release," Tiana reminded her during a crisis meeting. "But we can control how you respond. We need to preempt the narrative again, admit to more before they reveal it." No, Erica said firmly. If I start confessing to things that haven't come out yet, I'll look guilty. I will not give them more ammunition. What if they already have it? Kendra asked quietly from the corner of the room. What if this next leak is worse than we're imagining? The question hung in the air like smoke. No one spoke, because deep down they all knew it probably was. Across town, Kirk wasn't sleeping either. Every hour brought a new rumor, a new whisper about what the third recording contained. Some said it implicated politicians. Others claimed it proved hush money had been paid to silence multiple accusers. The most outlandish theory: that the recording involved a conversation about sabotaging careers and that Candace had evidence of a deliberate OWAB, conspiracy to blacklist certain people from the industry. For Kirk, the stakes couldn't be higher. His legal team had already warned him. If the contents of the third recording were as damaging as people feared, it wouldn't just be bad press, it could mean indictments. Prison, the end of everything. Candace, however, was silent. No interviews, no tweets, no hints. She'd gone dark, and that made the silence even more terrifying. Because silence meant strategy. Silence meant she was planning something massive. The pressure was suffocating, and cracks began to show. One evening, in a moment of weakness, Kirk called Erica. I know you don't want to talk, he said when she answered, voice tired and broken. But we need to think this through together. There's nothing left to think through, she replied coldly. You made your choices. I made mine. Don't act like you're innocent, he snapped. If this next tape comes out, we're both finished. It's all of us. And you know it. Maybe, she said, her voice cutting like glass. But the difference is, I can rebuild. You can't. She hung up before he could respond. For years, Kirk had been the one in control. Now, for the first time, he was powerless, and it terrified him. 2 nights later, the internet exploded. Without warning, Candace posted a cryptic message. Midnight. Everything changes. The countdown began. Fans stayed awake, refreshing their feeds every second. News outlets set up live streams, speculating about the drop. The hashtag midnight receipts trended worldwide. And at exactly 12 a.m., the third recording was released. It was worse than anyone had imagined. The audio began innocently enough. A casual conversation between Kirk and an unnamed associate. But within minutes, the tone shifted. They spoke openly about removing threats, about controlling narratives, about paying off journalists and influencers to bury damaging stories. Names were mentioned, powerful names. Some from the music industry, some from politics, some from law enforcement. And then Erica's voice appeared again. Calm, calculated, cold. Make sure she never works again, she said in the clip. I don't care what it takes. Silence her. The internet went into meltdown. If the first 2 leaks were scandals, this was an earthquake. Hashtags changed instantly. Hashtag cancel Erica. Hashtag lock up Kirk. Hashtag industry conspiracy. Politicians demanded investigations. Advocacy groups called for boycotts. Even former allies began distancing themselves publicly. Erica watched it unfold in real time, her face pale as the recording played on her laptop. It was her voice. There was no denying it, no spinning it, no context that could make it sound better. It was damning. Her phone rang nonstop. Sponsors were gone. Television deals vanished. Her publicist quit. Within hours, the woman who once dominated headlines was being erased from them. Kirk didn't fare any better. Law enforcement issued statements confirming that they were reviewing the materials. His management companies severed ties. Rumors swirled of subpoenas being prepared. The empire he'd spent decades building was crumbling. But the biggest surprise came from Candace. Instead of celebrating her victory, she released a statement. This was never about destruction. It was about truth. And now that the truth is out, the healing can begin. It was a calculated move, one that positioned her not as a vengeful enemy, but as a righteous whistleblower. It worked. While Erica and Kirk's reputations burned, Candace's soared. Media networks begged for interviews. Publishers offered book deals. Overnight, she became the face of accountability. But not everyone believed her motives were pure. Deep within the industry, whispers began to circulate. Whispers that Candace had been backed by powerful figures. That the leaks weren't about justice, they were about control. That taking down Erica and Kirk was just the first phase of a larger plan. And as those whispers grew louder, Erica began to wonder if she'd been playing the wrong game all along. Maybe this was never about revenge. Maybe she and Kirk weren't the real targets. Maybe they were just pawns in a much bigger war. Her suspicions deepened when she received a package, no return address. No note, just a flash drive. Against her better judgment, she plugged it into her laptop. What she found made her blood run cold. Emails, documents. An audio clip suggesting that Candace had coordinated with some of the very people she claimed to be exposing. If what she was seeing was real. The plan was dangerous. Leak just enough evidence to raise questions without revealing everything. If the public began to doubt Candace's motives, the narrative would shift again, this time in their favor. And if they could connect the dots to powerful players, journalists would do the rest of the work for them. They timed the first leak carefully. On a quiet Sunday morning, an anonymous email was sent to several major news outlets. It contained excerpts of emails between Candace's team and a media executive discussing strategic takedowns, public opinion manipulation, and timelines for story releases. Within hours, the internet was on fire again. Is Candace being controlled? Read one headline. New leaks suggest coordinated smear campaign, said another. Candace responded swiftly, calling the leaks fabricated. But something was different this time. The public wasn't as quick to believe her. Too many coincidences. Too many unanswered questions. The story she'd so carefully crafted was beginning to crack. Behind the scenes, Erica and Kirk doubled down. They arranged a secret meeting with a respected investigative journalist, someone known for taking down powerful figures. Over 3 hours, they laid out everything. The recordings, the files, the timeline, the connections. The journalist was skeptical at first. "This is explosive," he said. "But it's also dangerous. If you're wrong, you'll be destroyed for good." "We're already destroyed," Erica replied. "We have nothing left to lose." A deal was made. The journalist would investigate independently, and if he verified the evidence, he would publish a bombshell expose, one that could blow the lid off the entire operation. Meanwhile, Candace was starting to panic. For the first time since the saga began, the power dynamic was shifting. Questions about her credibility dominated the news cycle. Sponsors began hesitating. Even some of her allies started distancing themselves, desperate to regain control. She scheduled a live-streamed press conference promising to reveal the full truth once and for all. Millions tuned in. But instead of the triumphant victory speech she'd planned, it turned into a bloodbath. Journalists grilled her about the leaked emails, about her funding, about inconsistencies in her timeline. She stumbled. She deflected. And every stumble cost her credibility. The narrative was no longer hers to control. In the days that followed, the investigative journalist reached out to Erica and Kirk. His voice was tense but excited. "It's real," he said. "All of it. And it's bigger than either of you thought. We're going to publish." For the first time in months, Erica felt something close to relief. She and Kirk weren't innocent. If this story taught us anything, it's that truth always finds its way to the surface, no matter how deep people try to bury it. Erica, Kirk, Candace, and everyone involved became part of something far bigger than their own drama. A reminder that power, lies, and manipulation can only last so long before the world demands accountability. But the story doesn't end here. It's still unfolding, and the next chapter depends on you. Share this video, leave your thoughts in the comments, and tell us, who do you think was really pulling the strings behind it all? Was Candace a hero or a pawn? Did Erica and Kirk deserve redemption or justice? Hit that like button, subscribe for part 2 of this saga, and join the conversation. Because in a world built on secrets, the loudest voice is always the one that refuses to stay silent.